Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody around the world. This is the very first podcast for the DFS Quarry. With me tonight is Jared, JS Miner 87 on Twitter. Follow him there. I am Joe. You can follow me at Joe Miner 31. Today's podcast, we're going to talk about contest selection, a little bit of strategy, and go over some things we're going to do here with the podcast, which we're looking to do 4, 5, maybe 6 days a week. We'll see, whatever we have time for. Basically, all of our podcasts are going to be ran as a first look basis off the main slate. We'll be doing them the night before, so nothing can be etched in stone. We won't know about any scratches, any changes in goalies, or anything like that. So anything we find throughout the day, we'll go ahead and post on in the comments on the YouTube channel here. We'll get started here. I guess we're going to talk about contest selection first. Jared, cash game, 50-50, double up, triple up. Pretty much primarily where you gear your gaming towards.
Yeah, I think for me, I like cash games just because it seems to be a more even playing field. A lot of lineups more based on. Seems a lot of people do a little more in-depth research on their lineups versus the GPP, which we'll talk about the GPP modes, where it seems like a lot of people fill out a lot of lineups with hoping for a gold mine to strike rather than picking top quality plays. So I think it's using the knowledge I have of hockey. I like cash games a little bit more.
I can't disagree with you, but I will say I do play GPPs as well. I like to play a little bit of a variety of games, So I'll run the same lineup in a GPP as I do a cash lineup, just in case that night, that cash lineup goes off. I don't want to miss out, But moving on, your cash game strategy, Jared. You play the chalk. You look for the goalie to win. Pay attention to Vegas lines. If you do pay attention to Vegas lines, what are you looking for there?
Yeah. I have one app. There's many apps out there for the old Vegas lines, but I look for pretty much highest margin. Is Toronto going to be a minus 270 favorite against a rebuilding Ottawa team? And then you're looking in there for probably your first pick, maybe your goalie pick. You might also grab some top line players off of that first, but you also want to look at that as a warning sign as well. If you get that gut instinct, you might not want to ignore it and say, you know what, I think everyone's going to go there. I see another game that's a little bit, lower in the favorite column, but I think they're going to have some top players there. So you also want to look, not just gauging your strategy, but kind of gauging what, you're for a double up, for instance, you're looking at 23 people. So you want to kind of think, what are those other 22 guys going to do? Can I get an edge on them as well?
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think my main goal in a cash game is for myself. I target my goalie first. I'm looking for the win, so I'm looking for that higher favored team. I think somewhere the minus 170 to minus 200, somewhere around there for my goalie, and that's where I'll start and build outward. Now, I don't mind playing the chalk as far as one line in a cash game. I don't want to follow the chalk with everything and differentiate just in one play as you would in like baseball or basketball, something like that. I wouldn't do that. I would probably play one chalk line and then differentiate with another chalk line and go from there. We'll move on to GPP games. Obviously, a lot more risky plays. This is where you're definitely wanting to avoid the chalk, watch the ownership a lot more. And maybe as far as Vegas lines, I mean, you would probably agree. Maybe take that team that's a plus 110 underdog, right?
Yeah, you would definitely want to look at that. Where can you get that edge? I know with my big GPP win last year, it was an underdog Florida Panthers team. Where Trochuk and Dadonov and them really founded that game. Hat tricks galore, and the difference maker with that hat trick bonus we can talk about, and multi-point players. That's definitely your key in a GPP tournament.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And as far as GPPs, you're definitely going to stack there. Are you going to heavy stack? Are you still going to go with the three man, just the line stack? Are you going to add in or go for that power play line on both stacks? I mean, how would you look to do that?
Uh, for me, I'm probably going to power play stack a lot of the times. And I'm also going to look. Are they not just maybe they're a line combination along with that power play stack. Washington might have like TJ Oshie or Backstrom pairing up with Ovechkin, in that sense. So you might get that little bonus of them not being just on the same line, but they are running the same power play as well. So you get, minutes equals points. And if you get the chance that both of them are on the ice for more minutes together, chances are you're going to get that, assist and your goal bonus there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that triple point stack ain't. And I guess that takes us into the different types of stacking. Obviously, the line stacking we talked about, the power play stacking. And one thing I'd like to do also is the goalie with the defenseman stack. Sometimes maybe you'll get that elite defenseman, or how you say it, the offensive minded defenseman. Maybe you want to run a Murray with a Chris Letang. Um, You can even pair that up, moving a little into a mega stack, and then maybe run a Sid in Evgeny if you can squeeze them in there with the Chris Letang and the Murray. You get them on the power plays. I mean, obviously, they're a high scoring team. Not to be a homer or anything like that, but just as an example, um, it, it's definitely worth a look. To go with a goalie defense stack that can differentiate yourself enough in a GPP using a goalie defensive stack and picking the right one, obviously, that would allow you to play some of the chalk lines then also on top of that. We'll go in and look at the different positions to choose from. We'll start with goalies, elite goalies being 8K goalies. Again, always wanting to look for the win. Um, Stats, obviously, saves, goals allowed, the win on top of that. Anything else you do to try to pull out that right goalie?
Uh, if you can, I always try to get that shutout bonus. When you start to look in your triple ups or your small amount of contestants there, you want to see the difference from the last money spot to the first money spot. You might be looking at 4 or 5 points. So I'm looking, in those small entry tournaments, I'm looking, can I get that 2 points? Is there a real good a goalie option out there without breaking the bank? I do want to point out goalies tend to be the most expensive guy out there when your roster's set up. And, it's easy to say take the most expensive one tonight. He's got the best chance to win the game, but you'll find, it could be $1,000 difference from that first to the last starting goalie. So you might want to say, you know what, I want a little bit top line centerman on my team. So I'm going to sacrifice the goalie, take a little more chance there in order to get that, more points that I can with my center.
And the other thing with goalies is a lot of times we get backup goalies coming in. Now, if you believe the starting goalie's in a good spot that night, you find out the starting goalie's going to sit and the backup's going to come in, we're going to run that backup goalie, right? Because he's probably going to be $1,000 or $1,500 less uh, at cost, um, as opposed to the starting goalie that was in the same spot. Now, obviously, there's chance and risk in that, but would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's definitely situation dependent. I know being a homer, so to speak, there with the Penguins last year, they were historically at the beginning of the year bad on back-to-back nights. They were pulling a lot of those home and home back-to-back nights, and their record showed in it. I think they were like 1-5 on that second game of the back-to-back. So, I mean, you want to also keep that in mind of just situation there. Hey, this goal, the goalie playing against the Penguins that second night might be in play for that win because they're historically bad. You know.
Therefore, then you can look to stack possibly on back-to-back nights. You can target the backup goalie also.
Yeah.
Agreed. Let's move on to center position. Preferably, we're looking for a top line center. One that's on even strength and power play one line both, and we want an active center, goals, assist, blocks even. Um, Stats we want to target mainly for the centers is goals and assists, though. You would agree?
Yeah, yeah, you're not looking at the best defensive minded offenseman. You don't care about face off wins or anything. You want the point getters.
I would agree with that. Move on to wingers. I mean, centers pretty much.
Cut.
I mean, it's yeah. I mean, Austin Matthews, right? Connor McDavid, Nate McKinnon. I mean, that's the guys we want, right? Sid Crosby, Malkin. Um, we'll move on to the wingers. Wingers, obviously, there's going to be twice as many wingers to choose from because you have left and right wingers. Um, Wingers tend to shoot more. Likely to be the highest scorer on their team. Wingers are. Um, Not really looking for assists. So stats we're going to target for wingers is shots on goals, right, and goals themselves.
Yeah, I agree in all that aspects. You definitely look at the Alexander Ovechkin, guaranteed 7 attempts a night. And you just hope he hits the net on all 7. Easy points.
I agree. I mean, perfect example. Defensemen. Obviously, they're few goal scorers. I mean, you do have the Eric Carlson's, Chris Letang's, those type of defensemen. Um, but what we're going to target is a well-rounded defenseman. I think stats we're looking for is block shots, shots on goal, the occasional assist on the power play, or even a goal on a power play. If they're playing a power play line, we want that defenseman as long as that we can get that cheaper price. A $4,000 power play line defenseman. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, I can't stress enough. Minutes equals points. The more time on ice, the more points you can get. And I think you always want to look to see if is that find that cheapest defenseman that you can that is running the power play line. Even if it's a second power play line, you stand that chance to get an assist in there. But if you're going to sacrifice any position, for the sake of cost, I think this is the one that you can say, you know what, let's just hope for 2 points. Get me a 2 points. I'll be happy with that. A couple blocks and a couple shots, and usually you're happy with that.
So you don't have a problem taking a third pair then?
No, I'm not objected to that either. Like I said, you might get that, 2 first line centers, and that's going to cost you a good price. And I'll take down and save $1,000 on a defenseman that. You can chalk it up for 1 point, and you hope that maybe you'll get a 3.5 and throw an assist that night and get lucky.
Sure. Well, that's all the positions. Obviously, you have a utility position in there, but it's going to incorporate everything but a goalie. So, beginner advice: if you're new to NHL DFS, there's not much out there information wise. It's a fill your way kind of process. So beginner advice, I can say this: start with free games. play cash games, low dollar cash games, and learn the game, right?
Yeah, the beauty of this is, even their first couple, you can see, no one's line's a secret out there. You can click the top person's lineup and see who they're playing. Maybe you can analyze their mind and see what their strategy they're playing, but definitely, you see a guy's dominating. And one thing I've noticed is you typically run into the same players every night. You see a lot of the same usernames out there. Keep an eye on him. If he's running, top of the contest you're playing, see what he's doing. See if you can fill him out. Maybe he's a team favorite. Maybe he just got a good stack strategy that you can figure out. So I think that that's a benefit, not keeping people's lineups a secret. You can learn from that.
Right. And to build off that a little bit, they're at the top for a reason, right? If you see them at the top each and every single night, they're up there for a reason. They got to know what they're doing. So go ahead and pay attention to what they're doing. I can't argue that at all. The other thing for beginners here, don't worry about the ownership, right? I don't think you need to overwhelm yourself with that. Play the good plays. Don't worry about when anybody else is playing. It doesn't pay to play a stupid guy or you know what I mean. Why play a fourth line centerman just to save yourself salary to go up and get something? That's not being contrarian. That's being stupid, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Just because you got his jersey doesn't mean you got to play him in your lineup. That's the way I think. It's like how'd you learn to read? Don't try to make this book harder. Start out with the basics. Once you get those figured out, or get that first win on your belt, top 10 maybe in a free lineup, you'll start feeling better about yourself, and you'll find your own rhythm, whether you got lucky or whether you actually, made a good strategy that night.
I would agree. And last and certainly not least, above and beyond anything else, make sure your goalie is starting, right? I mean, that's the worst thing in the world to open up your DraftKings app on your phone or your FanDuel app on your phone to see that your goalie has no points in the third period. That's horrible. So pay attention to that. Make sure your goalie's starting, right?
That is true. Usually, like this year, it just started following the Twitter of every NHL team. Usually, they'll post their morning skate lineups, and then usually they give a pretty good advance notice of who's giving you the start in net tonight. So you can use that, following Twitter, set up your notifications. I'd recommend for people who are serious about it. And the smaller games. I don't think we talked about turbo slate 2-game lineups. There are strategies where you play that goalie that starting, but you don't. Under normal circumstances, you won't. But if you're expecting a 2-game slate with high scoring, some people do take an intentional 0 for that goalie so they can use the money elsewhere.
Yeah. Yes, we've seen that done. And we've seen that win.
Yeah.
Amazing as it might seem, it does work. Rare occasions, though. I would recommend.
Yeah, you're definitely looking at. It's not a main slate technique. That would be your turbo two-game slates.
Sure, I would agree. Well, that's about it as far as strategy. A little bit of advice. And let me just get in here a little bit. Give you a quick DFS Quarry goals here. What we're looking to do. Again, it's going to be a first look main slate podcast. This will be posted early on YouTube. Again, 4 to 5 nights a week. We'll try to do that. Now, honestly, I don't see the point if we're looking in. I mean, 4-game slate, that's fine with me. Even a 3-game slate, we could do a video for, but we can't really do anything like the 2-game slates. 3-game slate's going to be hard enough. I mean, the picks are so obvious. The plays are going to be obvious. It would really be us on here talking about everything that everybody would know anyway. So we'll look to try to do at least 4-game slates and up as far as main slate podcasts go. And we're gonna do some bonus strategy videos. Obviously, a little more intense strategy, like you were talking about with the taking a zero on the goalie strategy. We can get into some deeper strategies like that, and we'll also post some videos of lineup reviews, just so you guys know we're not bullshitting you. You're gonna see we're talking about the plays that and the players that we're gonna play, right?
Yeah, we're not out to try to intentionally steer people the wrong way to take their money. Not at all.
Fair enough. And we'll talk about the game. Obviously, we're not going to make no picks, but we're going to do a game at the end of every show here. Um, three different things we're going to pick here. First pick is going to be the diamond stack, right? That's going to be any stack line 2 or lower that will score at least 12 points or higher as a combined stack.
Yeah, yep, that's it. Just a little teaser, a little prediction for us. Yep.
And I'll let you give the next one since I know you're in love with this one.
The next one, part of the game, we're going to have the snowflake stack. Once you get into here, for DraftKings users, they give you that snowflake by your guy to let you know he's not having a good night. So we're going to give you, maybe a top line at pairing that normally scores a lot of points that night, 12 points or lower, having a bad night. Potentially, they even get shut out. So we're going to, predict that.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to nail that every night, though. Obviously, we'll give it a shot, but I don't think we're going to get it. And we'll then do, last but not least, the Boulder Award. And the Boulder Award is going to be us picking a goalie that night who's going to post a shutout. Now, obviously, if you're any kind of a hockey fan, you know shutouts are not an everyday thing. So that one will have a lot of losses beside, but we'll give it a shot. We got to should be able to now, I don't know, maybe 1 in 10 or something like that, right?
I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, anything else you want to add?
No, I think going back to the basics here. The beauty of this is it's low dollar. The low dollar stuff's out there. A lot of people say it's gambling. It is, but there's free stuff. There's dollar entry pulls. Your strategy is you got $1 laying in your cigarette ashtray. Pull $1 out, throw it on DraftKings, give it a shot. Lucky lineups win, so don't be discouraged thinking you'll never win.
That's right. It's a little more controlled than your scratch-off tickets, I would say, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And we'll be back tomorrow night. We're going to do opening night. We're going to do a slate breakdown. That'll be 4 games. Should be a lot of fun, right? Hopefully we build a winner. And as far as that goes, before we jump out of here, there was one other thing I wanted to mention. And we will talk about that a little bit tomorrow too, as we're getting into it. They have the big 250K, $5 entry. I don't know what the max on that is. Probably like a 20 entry max, something like that. Maybe the 150 entry max. I don't know. If you're new to NHL DFS, don't play that. I mean, it's not worth it. It's gonna be a shot in the dark. You're looking at tens of thousands of lineups, maybe hundreds of thousands of lineups. Your chances and odds of winning that are crazy. So, if you ain't got nothing else, Jared, I guess we're gonna get out of here, right?
You betcha. We'll see you tomorrow night.
All right. See you guys. Thanks.